Hello, everybody. Today, I'm having me a little Winchester I got from Just Piping. Giving it a taste. My Rossi 8673. I figured I'd share some stories with you. Over the past month, been going through a lot of pictures, telling a lot of stories, sharing a lot of info with friends and family. And today, I figured I'd share some of those stories with you. So, we're going to go with some of the most epic wrecks I've been involved in. Unfortunately, I've been in way too many, but these are the ones, the highlights. Totaled way too many vehicles, more than I care to admit. Mostly of them due to deer. I've hit a lot of deer, killed a lot of deer because of it. I've killed a lot of vehicles because of it too, but there are several that weren't deer related. I figured those would be the highlights. So, there's four of them. First one doesn't actually involve a car. We're going to go back to the mid 90s. I'd been 14, 13. I had a three wheeler my dad acquired for me and my sister to ride. And I rode it more than she did because she was seldom on the farm for very long, which is what we call my dad's place, the farm. And down there, he raised cattle and spent a lot of time down there working, helping throwing hay, putting in fence. Every weekend, every summer, every holiday. Cut firewood, throw hay, fix fence, feed cows, haul water. All the typical things that involve being on a farm. So, Christmas is rolling around, and me and the neighbor boy, we're good friends. Talk on the phone all the time, hang out, ride four-wheelers, three-wheelers, dirt bikes, you name it. Well, 3 days before Christmas is when this starts. He calls me up, says, "Hey, you want to go fox hunting tonight?" I'm like, "Sure." Well, he has a dirt bike at the time. I got a three-wheeler. He's like, "I'll ride with you so we can haul everything." It's like, okay, cool. So I go pick him up. We got the shotguns and the call and the lights and the whole shebang. And we go out and we hit several local spots where we're allowed to fox hunt. Place up the road, place behind his house. Then we go hit the backside of my dad's place. There's a big open field back there. And while we're back there, we get late. We've seen a couple things, not sure what they were. They never got close enough for us to see or take a shot for that matter. So we go back and we offload the guns, the calls, we keep the lights, and we go out riding around, goofing off. Well, we end up at the backside of my dad's place, and he's got a driveway that run. He had a driveway that run the entire length of the property, from front to back, and it's about 3/4 of a mile long from start to finish, where his property ends, and then there's another half mile or so to my buddy's house. My dad lived on dead end road, so no traffic, no troubles. Anyway, we go back there, shine lights around, shoot the breeze, smoke a couple cigarettes, typical stupid teenager things. Teenagers, or cigarettes that he actually filched from his mom. So, anyway, we decide we're going to leave, and my buddy, he's been pestering me all night. Let me drive, let me drive, let me drive, let me drive, let me drive. He wanted to drive. I said, okay, you drive. I knew I shouldn't have, but I did. And we take off. And we're going along, and I reach down, I pull the spotlight off of his belt, and I start shining the creek banks and the ditch lines along where we're riding, going down the driveway. And I go to put the light back on his belt, and he turns his head and looks down and takes one hand off the handlebars and grabs the light, go put it in the pocket, and instead of just driving. And we smoke a tree. Left of center, I guess you would say. The three-wheeler's tire missed the tree. What hit was the right side foot peg, which had my foot and his foot on it, and the rear tire. Now, this causes the three-wheeler to flip. He is pinned under the motor on his leg, and my foot is wedged in between the foot peg and the tire. And it hurts like hell, and I'm mad, and gas is leaking, and I'm yelling, screaming, and he's like, I can't get it out from under it, I can't get it off me, and he's freaking out a little bit, and my foot's stuck, literally, in between the foot peg and the tire. It's wedged, and I'm mad, and I'm a farm boy. I'm down there all the time. I'm 260 pounds, 5'9" to 5'10" at this point, somewhere near 6 foot. And I just start kicking the seat on the three-wheeler as hard as I can. And I just kick, and I kick, and I kick with my good foot that's not pinned. And finally, after about the third kick, I kick it hard enough. I flip the three-wheeler off me, off him, and back onto its wheels, and my foot pops out. I'm mad. Mad. But I get up, start the three-wheeler. I'm like, get on. And he's saying something. I was like, just shut up, get on, I'm taking you home. I jump on the three-wheeler, I get it started, it's pull start, rip cord, like an old lawnmower. No electric start, no battery, just pull cord, magneto, light comes on. We take off. I drop him off at his house. I go back to my dad's place. I park the three-wheeler. I hobble in the house. I limp my way in, get upstairs. I get to my room. I walk up to the bed, and I just face plant, fall over like a tree. Feet hanging off the end of the bed, don't take no clothes off, don't take my boots off, and I just pass out. At this point, it's 2-ish o'clock in the morning, and I just pass out. Somewhere between 7 and 8 o'clock, I wake back up, and I sit up, and I take off my left boot, which is the foot that wasn't trapped. Everything's fine. I take off my right boot, and it hurts a little bit. I take off my sock, and before I can get back into bed, or into bed under the blankets, I guess technically, because I passed out there, my foot goes from being normal size to football. Just poof. Within 4 or 5 minutes. Tops. So, I tried to stand up. Can't do it. Cannot stand on that right foot. Pain is excruciating. So, I hop one-footed on my left leg over to the top of the stairs, and I park my ass on the top of the stairs, and I bop, bop, bop down one by one, using my hands, pick myself up, sit down on the next step, so forth and so on. Usually my left foot is kind of balanced. I get to the bottom. At the bottom there's a landing. It's about, 4 foot by 4 foot, maybe a little bit bigger. And it turns into the living room. And then there's 3 more steps from that landing into the living room. And I get to that landing, and I get to the edge of that landing, and I got both my feet dangling, and I start hooping and hollering for anybody that can hear me. And the only person there at this point is my stepmom. and I think one of my stepsisters. Anyway, they come over, what's wrong? I was like, I think I broke my foot. What happened? I was like, three-wheeler accident last night, hit a tree. I don't say I was driving. I don't say I wasn't driving. I don't say my buddy was driving. I don't say who's driving. It's just, there was a three-wheeler accident last night, hit a tree. Okay, so they call my grandmother because my dad and my mom are both at work at this point. So they call my grandmother. And there's like, can we bring Derek up to you? Yes. So they load me up. And they get me up to my grandmother's house. And she starts making phone calls. She calls my mom, who's the one that has insurance on me because she has primary custody. I stay with her throughout the school year. And she tries to go home my mom, who works in Cincinnati for one of the national bank chains. And she finally gets a hold of her, says, I'll meet you at the hospital. So my granny loads me up, and her Cadillac drives me up to would be my great aunt and uncle's, which was her sister and her husband. Which, by the way, great people. I loved them to death, and they were awesome. Anyway, get a spare pair of crutches. They get me to the hospital. My mom shows up. I'll get x-rayed, casted, shot up on morphine. Turns out I broke 3 metatarsals in my foot, and there are 3 in the center. So my middle 3 toes is what broke, but inside the foot, not the actual toe themselves, but the metatarsal back in the foot. I broke. So they shoot me up on morphine to try and keep me calm, because they have to yank on my toes to get them back into the right spots because they got pushed back in the wreck. So a whole lot of pain, a whole lot of screaming going on. Anyway, they get me. I guess technically they didn't cast me, and then they splinted me, and I had to come back later, but that's neither here nor there. So they got me a splint, and my mom had a Christmas party to go to that night at my aunt's house. And she drags me along to this Christmas party, and it starts out, I'm parked in a recliner in the living room, kicked back on morphine, blitzed out of my mind, 14 years old. 13 maybe. And some little kid, I don't know who it was to this day, come running through there and clipped that chair, and it slid a little bit, and it jostled that foot and brought me out of my stupor. I lost it. I grabbed a crutch, started screaming, you get back here, I'm going to beat you to death, you little shit. Everybody's like, well, we got to get him out of the room. So they moved me off into the room with my uncle, who likes to be by himself, and I sat in the little room with my uncle there, watching the Gilligan's Christmas special and the MASH Christmas special on repeat for the whole night. I go home, and at this point, I find out Dad's a little bit mad, and he's already, I'm selling the three-wheeler, I'm getting rid of it. Well, that's his prerogative. He stated that when he got it, if any of us ever hurt ourselves on it, he was going to get rid of it. Well, he goes to talk to my buddy who was driving, see if he got hurt or how bad he got hurt. And he gets up there and finds out that my buddy, a couple of his toenails turned black and fell off. His foot a little bruised up. His legs banged up pretty good. My buddy fessed up to it, though. I said he was the one driving, which ended up letting me get to keep the three-wheeler. Time passes, I heal up, and everything's back to normal. Well, now we're going to jump ahead to 90, 95, 96 time frame. I got my first car. I had half the money. My mom supplied the other half of the money. I wanted a pickup truck. I wanted a 5-speed. I wanted a bench seat. I wanted at least a tape deck. You know, I had this big list of things that I wanted. You know, I didn't get any of it. What I got was an 80s model automatic Chrysler LeBaron. It had electric windows. I wanted manual windows. Basically, it was the exact opposite of everything I wanted. But it was my first car, so it was cool. And I drove it to and from school, to and from work, to and from my mom's house, to my granny's, to my dad's. And it was a good time. Great driving a little car. But being a teenager, being dumb, I drove like a lunatic. I screwed that car up more than once. I broke the oil pan twice, driving like a loon, hitting jumps and driving through fields and clipping rocks. The transmission went out of it. So, I'm not exactly somebody who was simple on cars as a teenager. I actually wasn't simple on vehicles until my mid-20s. And even then, I'm still not that simple on them. I still hit a lot of deer. But I'm out at night a lot, so. Anyway, back to the story. Get sidetracked sometimes. Anyway, back to the story. So, I'm on my way to school one morning, and it's me and my sister. And she forgot something, or I forgot something. I don't remember which way this went. But I whipped around. And to beat the clock, I was going fast. I was 65, 70 mile an hour on a back road. On this particular back road, there was 2 giant potholes. If you just slid it right, you'd go straddle the one and around the other. But you had to do it just right. And me being me, cocky little shit of a teenager, I thought, there's no way I can screw this up. I can get this, it'll be just fine at 65 or 70 mile an hour when it's normally a 45 mile an hour spot. I go ripping down through there. I clear the big pothole just fine. Straddle it. Mind you, these potholes are deep. But I hit the second one at speed. Pops a tire, acts like an anchor, the wheel falls all the way down it, spins the car 180 degrees, and launches us. And when it launches us, it sends us sailing across the yard, up a bank, across the yard, and into a tree, backwards at whatever speed I was traveling. Now, at that point in time, I'm sitting in the car. The floor pan on the floorboard had wrapped around my feet. I legitimately had to unlace one of my boots, pull my foot out of the boot, pull the boot out of the hole to pull the other foot out. All this is going on. My sister's in the passenger seat. She's freaking out. Car's smoking. Radiator's popped. And she's like, we got to get out. It's going to blow up. I'm like, it's just the radiator. Everything's going to be fine. If there ain't no fire, don't worry. She's freaking out. She jumps out, takes off up the road. I'm sitting in the car. At this point in time, I'm smoking cigarettes quite extensively. And I'm looking for my cigarettes, and they were in a console in the center of the dash. And the pocket where I put them was a little square box with a fold down door. It's gone. It's not there. So I'm hollering at her, see if she can find the cigarettes. I'm looking around the car. And she finds them up the road about 25 feet, where we skipped the ditch to start out with, roughly. In the pocket still. At some point in time in the wreck, that thing got ejected. So I get out of the car, I have a smoke, calm down, and there's a house right up the road, which was the yard we were in. And I hike up to that house, I knock on the door. I'm like, hey, I hit a tree in your yard. Can I use your phone? Okay, come on in. I go to I call my granny, and I'm like, hey, you need to get a hold of mom or dad or somebody. I just totaled my car, I wrapped it around a tree. Well, while I'm in the house, somebody calls the cops. So I'm standing there on the phone. The lady that owns the house, she used to be a teacher where I went to school at. She wasn't one of my teachers, but she was a previous teacher. She walks up and she goes, "Excuse me, do you know you're bleeding?" And I was like, "What?" She points at the floor and I'm standing in a puddle of blood. I'm bleeding pretty good, but it wasn't a lot. It was just the appearance of a lot. So she goes and gets me a towel so I can wrap around my arm. Because what happened was I put my arm through the driver's side window, and I had a bunch of little pinholes in my arm where the glass had hit. A bunch of little tiny cuts, and each one of them was bleeding a little bit, which made the puddle under my feet. I was like, "Well, get me a mop, I'll clean it up." She's like, "No, just get out of my house, I'll take care of it." So I got her towel wrapped around my arm, and I'm sitting outside on her front porch waiting. Here comes the cop, and this has bearing on it. He's a local cop. He's a sheriff. He's been a sheriff for a long time. He rolls up. He's like, "Mr. Johnson." I was like, "How you know my name?" He's like, "Well, I ran your plates and it came back to a Johnson." I was like, "Oh, okay, fine." So, anyway, I haggle him. He haggles me a little bit. He asks me all these questions. What happened? Blah, 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 blah. And I tried to explain it to him. Of course, I tried to mitigate my culpability by saying that I couldn't have been doing no more than 50. I might have been speeding just a little bit. But Marv there, he's like, "I don't know how fast you're really going, but there's no evidence of foul play and there's no signs of drinking." And he goes down the whole rigmarole and gives you that speech about you shouldn't have been driving so fast. And he goes, "Be careful, because this wreck, you should have been dead." I'm like, "All right, thank you." He leaves. My granny had showed up while he was talking to me. We get the car loaded up and we drag it back to my mom's place and put it in the driveway. And then these pictures of the aftermath. You'll see where the tree hit. On that one, you can see how far in it went. And this one, oh, there it is. A bulge coming out of the windshield was the steering wheel. It bent it up so far. Now, once again, I got the third degree from my mom. I got the third degree from my dad. Nobody's happy. We're not helping me with any more vehicles. Fine. I'll take care of it myself. I got a job. I'm making money. I start buying $500 vehicles. And I rip through them. I buy Mustangs and pickup trucks. And I just total car after car after car. Get hit by a drunk guy. Got rear-ended by somebody who wasn't paying attention. Hit a bunch of deer. But no real major things. Until I finally get a decent job paying decent money in 2000. I decide I'm going to buy me a brand new truck. I go out and I buy me a 2000 Chevy S10. It's 5-speed, manual roll down windows. It has a 3/4 bench bucket, CD player. It has everything I wanted in my first vehicle that I didn't get. And I love that truck. The only complaint I ever had with that truck was the motor was junk. And then some of the components they used, like the power steering system, was plastic. But it was a good running truck. Transmission shifted perfectly. The brakes worked fine. Drove the wheels off that thing. Well, 2-3 days before Christmas, once again, I'd been working 2 jobs, and partying in between. I was burning the candle both ends and from the middle. I was living off of caffeine, nicotine, and hatred, with the occasional help of some ephedra. Back then, you could buy it in pill form. It was legal. Today, you can't. But anyway, I was on my way home. I stopped uptown. I shot the breeze with a few buddies. I had a beer, one beer, singular. I didn't have no cash on me. Didn't have no ATM bank card at this point. Even if I could find an ATM around here, they weren't common. But I didn't have one. Didn't have no cash, so I couldn't buy no energy drinks or ephedra. So I decided I was just going to go home. Blizzarding, cold, snowy, nasty. I go home. And then I decide that I'm not going to make it home. I'm too tired. I'm going to go to my granny's house, which is just 3 miles from town. And I take off. So, I make it maybe a mile from where I'm taking off to where I'm going. And I'd been up for way too long. And I blacked out, passed out, cold. On a straight road in front of South Ripley School. Now, South Ripley is a local high school, grade school. Anyway, I pass out. I wake up when I run off the road. I see a fence post and a mailbox. And I yank the wheel hard. Hard right. As hard as I can go. The truck slides sideways. Blizzard-like conditions. Cold, snowy. Can't see nothing. The road's glaze. And I'm skidding sideways. And I'm cutting back into it. I'm like, I got it. And then I hit a dry spot. That tire caught the truck. It was like a Hollywood movie. Went airborne and flipped and landed on the side. And it rolled over 3 times. When it came to a rest, I was sitting on the ground. Literally, my ass was on the ground in the snow with the truck on its side. I was sitting, because I didn't have a seatbelt on. I never wear a seatbelt. Only one wreck I ever had a seatbelt, and that was the first one I told you about with the LeBaron. Anyway, truck's sitting on its side. My butt's on the ground. Truck's dead stop. And the radio's still playing. At this point in time, the song that's playing is ODB, Hey Baby, I Got Your Money. If you don't know what that song is, go on YouTube after this is over, type in ODB space, Hey Baby, I Got Your Money. It'll come up. Or I Got Your Money. Bring it up too. Anyway, I'm sitting there thinking, I hope somebody's got my money because this truck's screwed. But anyway, I climb up the seat, out the passenger door, stand on top of the truck in windy, snowy, nasty conditions, trying to figure out which way I'm going to go, what I'm going to do. And I got a buddy who was working right up the road at a factory called Ohio Rod. And I climbed down off the truck. I kicked the back glass the rest of the way out. I kicked the driver's side seat forward through the back glass. And in there I have a cold weather pack of gear that I kept. Carhartt cold weather bibs, a cold weather coat, an extreme cold weather coat, and a nice furry hat and some heavy duty gloves. And I put all that on because I gotta walk in this miserable cold, and all I had on was a sweatshirt and jeans because the heater in that truck was amazing. But anyway, I hike up there. I beat on the door of the factory until somebody finally answers. I was like, hey, get me. My buddy, he comes over. I was like, call your dad. Tell him to come pick me up. I got to call the cops. I had a wreck. He's like, you want me to call the cops? I was like, no, I want to wake up first. So he calls the cop. He calls his dad. His dad comes, picks me up. I go back to his house. I drink a couple cups of coffee, a Dr. Pepper. I call the cops. I was like, hey, I had an accident out on Benham Road. in front of the school. They're like, we know. I assume you're Mr. Johnson. I was like, yes. Yeah, somebody already called it in. They were on their way to work and seeing the aftermath. I was like, okay. They're like, we got an officer out there, or he's en route. I don't remember. He'll meet you there. I got a record coming to get your truck. Okay, cool. So I go out there. And somewhere along the way, I realized I'd lost the glasses off my head. And I get out there. And by the time I get out there, they're flipping the truck on its wheels. And I hop out of my buddy's dad's Jeep. And I'm walking up to the truck. I'm going to, survey the scene, I guess you would say, and get my stuff out of the truck that I don't want to go to the impound. And I start realizing some of the stuff's gone, and it was firearms. There was a couple of them gone. And a book of CDs and a few other things. And I walk over where the truck had landed. And you can see the imprint on the ground where my butt had hit and where the door set. And inside the imprint where the door was my glasses embedded into the ice and snow. And I pick them up. They're a little bent. I bend them back to shape and put them on. And I keep looking. I find one of the missing firearms and I put it in. I get my CD book. Half of the CDs are broke because of the tussle. And the other firearm, my buddy's dad finds it probably 30, 40 yards away, sticking out of the snow like a flagpole. Barrel down, shish kebabbed into the ground, speared it in. Well, I load everything up. I put it in his Jeep. Cop, I hadn't talked to him yet. He comes walking over. It's Marv, once again. He walks up, Mr. Johnson, we need to stop meeting like this. Yeah, Marv, I think we do. He's like, I'm going to say it again. You should have been dead. I was like, Marv, you going to tell me that every wreck? He's like, maybe. Well, truck gets taken off. I jump back in the Jeep. I go back to my friend's dad's place. I go in. I talk to him. I talk to my buddy's dad. I talk to my buddy's dad's mom. His mom's got back problems. She pulls out 2 little pills. She hands them to me. She goes, take these. It'll make you feel better. And I was stiff and I was bruised up a little bit. And I'm like, okay. I popped 2 pills. I was like, what were they? She's like, oh, Percocet. I went and sat down on their couch and I passed out. And because I'd been up for so long, plus the Percocets, I was out like a light for a day and a half. After that day and a half, I get woke up to being kicked in the side of the head and the ribs by my father. He's got a boot. He's just giving that nice little nudge. Wake up. Wake up. What? I was wondering, oh, what? He's like, next time you get in a wreck, you call me immediately. I was like, how'd you even know I was in a wreck? He's like, as soon as they found the car, they called the house. I was like, oh, my bad. Okay. And then he drags me out and throws me in the truck, and away we go. 2-3 days later, Christmas comes, Christmas passes. It's in between Christmas and New Year's at this point. Still arguing with the insurance company about getting this settled because the amount of money owed on the truck versus the amount that the insurance was for. It's bullshit. But needless to say, it got settled eventually. And once all that's taken care of, we go see the truck. And at any given point in time, there were 3 tires on that truck touching the ground. The frame had bent. You could go to the back driver's side corner and jump up and push down on the bed, and the front passenger side tire would lift. Good times. That wreck was over. The last wreck I've spoke about in a previous video. It was me on the way home from work. I hit the deer on the bike. I got shish kebabbed, ended up with a stainless steel plate. What makes this story funny is, so I'm on my way to the hospital. I'm having, pain and whatnot. I'm making fun of the ambulance driver. And we get to the hospital. He's like, is there anything I can do for you? I was like, yeah, call my dad. Give him the number, tell him who to ask for. He calls. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning at this point. He finally gets through to him. About 4 o'clock in the morning, which is around my dad's normal wake up time, him and my stepmom show up at the hospital. He checks on me. He's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. They're going to have to do some work to my arm, surgery." He talks to the doctor. He talks to the nurses. And he's like, "I got to go to work. If you don't need me to hang around," I was like, "You need to go to work. You go to work. That's fine. Cool." He leans in. He's like, "I'm glad you're okay. I love you." All this stuff. And then he goes, "But next time, maybe just wait until it's time for me to be getting up before you have them call." I don't know. Can't win for lose on that one. First it was you call me immediately if you get in another wreck. Now it's you wait until I wake up. That was a good time though. This video is run on far longer than it should have. So I'm going to let you all go. You have a good one. Be safe. Have fun. Happy smokes. Later.